Welcome to NFL Daily, where we will not be put up for sale for maybe more than $10 billion this week. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. That's a reference to the Seahawks officially being announced as up for bidding. That was on Wednesday. And, talk about selling high. Good timing.
Yeah.
Win a Super Bowl. Not that they would be struggling to sell the Seahawks beforehand.
You saying that makes me think of, what's the number? Like, what's the number for Gregg Rosenthal to,
No, we're in this for the love of the game. And also, we don't own anything.
Yeah, right?
So not up to me. It starts with a B, like the Seahawks,
Yeah.
That's what it would take. At that point, I think we could, feed a lot of families for a long time. We could
Change
start
the
our
world.
own production company. Chris Babona would be doing long-form series about flag football. It would be absolutely electric. We're going to hit every NFC
Live your
team.
dreams, Chris.
We will be doing some flag football content
Yes.
Yay.
later in the offseason. We're going to have a big show about it. Now that we said it on the show,
You have to do
it
it.
has to happen,
Yeah.
and it will happen. But that's in the future. Right now is a beautiful part of the regular season where we got the coaches in place, but everything is on the table in terms of cap space, in terms of trades. The Dolphins have already started cutting people, but for the most part, we don't even know who's going to be let go. And it really all starts picking up next week in Indianapolis. We will be there as a podcast. I'm flying there for shows on Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. I don't know why I said that backwards, but Jourdan
I
will
will
be
also
involved.
be there.
Jourdan will also be there for a couple days. I was going to say you're not on the Monday show because you're meeting. It's the big athletic powwow, but we're going to have some guests. A couple general managers have already signed up, and I'm excited about that. But before that, we're going to give a preview, and we're going to start with Patrick's Dallas Cowboys.
Wait, when did that happen?
It's not your Dallas Cowboys, but for a minute, as a young man, you kind of rooted for the Cowboys. That stopped a while ago. But like me, you do appreciate how Dak Prescott spins the ball. So you have an affection for him.
Yeah, more than a significant percentage of Dallas Cowboys fans.
Right.
Perhaps. And also, my college classmate, having a Hall of Fame career that started with the Cowboys.
That was it. And I always forget that part.
Yeah, it's okay.
That was DeMarcus Ware. And I should set up 3 minutes for every NFC team. And we set up the offseason and add some big questions to the mix. Let's start in the NFCs with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think the number one question and the thing that inspires a lot of discussion revolves around George Pickens, who's going to be a big part of the regular season, where I think the contract circumstance, we just recently saw the way that things devolve with Micah Parsons. I don't think they devolve. I don't think George Pickens has these delusions where he can have a discussion with Jerry Jones, where Jerry Jones has we're equals. We're just men having a chat. I think George Pickens knows where he stands with Jerry Jones, and perhaps the Joneses will be less likely to do the chicanery with regards to George Pickens, and maybe there will be a decision at some point where the team is negative $33 million in cap space at the moment, so there are some needs to solve some problems. I think maybe an early extension for Quinnen Williams. I know that the deal just went down to acquire him to kind of ease some of that pain, but obviously the team needs help on defense in a significant capacity. I think changing the organizational structure with regards to the way the defense is called will go a long way in that, but they need players and talent as well, and they're having to do that in a situation where they don't have the cap space. So congratulations, Dallas Cowboys.
You said he knows where he is in the pecking order in terms of not talking to Jerry, but do you think the whole CD and him is like a long-term idea? Because there even was a couple moments in the season where maybe CD didn't seem totally thrilled, and then George Pickens, there was that whole hubbub where he got criticized a lot for, a couple games. It seemed like he checked. I do think there's a greater chance that they trade him than really makes sense, but I think it's possible because maybe you build the team a different way.
Oh no, they have a history,
right,
of having access to incredible talent and then choosing not to utilize it in those positions, and I think they can. Do I think they
that
should?
Part.
No, I don't. Because in terms of the Pickens experience, we make jokes about it, and a lot of things happen. In terms of the negative impacts on the field as to George Pickens' contributions to the 2025 Dallas Cowboys,
1 minute.
he had an injury in the Lions game, and the booth didn't really like him that much.
Yeah.
And then our perception kind of shifted after that. But what did he do? Like, what
Second
significant
team
harm
All-Pro. You
did he
can't take
cause?
that away from him.
Yeah, he's such a difference maker for the passing game. Now, does that mean that I think they're going to pay him, multi-year big money or any team right now? No, I think he's going to go somewhere and be there for a year. If he's gonna leave the team or he gets tagged. It's been reported that they're gonna start the process of tagging him. Now, I will say we talked about this on the Monday show. The Cowboys of it all, something about this will drag out way longer than it needs to, just so that there are headlines about it. And really the focus underneath all of this should be their defense, truly, and will be their defense. Defensive coordinator Christian Parker, one of the youngest who's going to be calling a defense in the NFL. Super talented guy, and I know him well. I've gone way back with him and studied his scheme and how he wants to be sort of mold this Vic Fangio defense moving forward. And he could coax a couple of Eagles free agents to come over with him. He was known as quite a popular coach with the players over there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean is available. Reed Blankenship is available. They also have some key free agents. Not maybe keys. Like players that played a lot of snaps. Jadeveon Clowney, Sam Williams, Donovan Wilson, Dante Fowler, Kenneth Murray. All of them played quite a bit for them this last season and might not be on the team this next year. They are all hitting free agency. You are up with the Giants.
The John Harbaugh era begins as he officially, we think, formally, officially finalized his staff a little earlier this month. And also finalized the we all report to John Harbaugh-ness of that entire staff, predictably so. To me, I thought there's so much with the Giants that needs to happen moving forward. They have some really good pieces to start with. They think they found their quarterback in Jackson Dart. Cam Scatterbo coming off that major injury. We'll see how he returns. They have one of the quietly more underrated offensive lines, I think, in the NFL. When Andrew Thomas is healthy, they have real potential on the defensive line. For me, big picture for this team as John Harbaugh begins to build what he wants this to be is taking the past history of talent acquisition for the Giants, which is basically Joe Schoen going after good players, but not really knowing how to put them all into the puzzle together or how they could all complement and fit each other in a way that screams cohesiveness. And turning that into an actual identity. To me, that is the thing I'm most curious about with the Giants.
And to remind the listeners, Denard Wilson, who was the Titans defensive coordinator last year, is the defensive coordinator here. Matt Nagy was who he settled for at offensive coordinator. And then he said,
silent laser for Matt Nagy.
He literally was public saying Monken was his first choice. And then he felt so bad about it. Did you hear that quote? That really stuck out to me, where that he said, Matt Nagy could be the greatest coordinator of all time. That's what we're hoping for. He settled for him. It was a second choice.
That is two flamethrowers at Matt Nagy this week on this show.
They have some good free agents. You mentioned the offensive line. They have two starters available in free agency. Maybe the top tackle available, Jermaine Illuminor, and Greg Van Roten, who's started for them for a couple of years. Wandale is also probably likely to leave. I think they could trade Dexter Lawrence and or Kayvon Thibodeau. Not a ton of cap space. So how aggressive is this changing of the guards? We'll see.
I think it'll be fairly aggressive in an opportunity where a lot of people in East Rutherford are trying to prove themselves. I think they're exceedingly aggressive in at least the format in which they do it, the success.
The defense especially, you look at cornerback, linebacker, defensive tackle, they have needs.
And it'll be a really important, again, it goes back to me. I know it sounds like kind of a little bit too space cadet, but it does go back to me as what is your identity? Because really what that is basically saying what is the backbone of what we want to be and how do we build the rib cage around it kind of a thing. And that's what they need to do through the draft. And I think they could be aggressive in free agency. But in my memory, a John Harbaugh kind of led effort is not going to try to go out and spend big. More so move off of players he doesn't necessarily want around. Kayvon Thibodeau might be one of those players.
I think it's fascinating because I think this is truly the first John Harbaugh-led effort, though. I never got the feel. Of course he had a big say in Baltimore, but to me that was always a front office. So I think it's very difficult for a coach to have as much responsibility as John Harbaugh has, because I think he's going to have it. But Mike Vrabel's pulling it off right now. It's working for him. I got the Eagles. I got two options for my introductory question here. They're kind of similar in a way. Like, number one, is this the most fascinating team in the offseason? Bit of a leading question because I'm going to present the case of why so much is going on. Or are the Eagles as we know them done? And by that, I mean,
Ooh.
here's the Eagles as we know them. Jeff Stoutland, good offensive line play, starts it all. And Jeff Stoutland's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And Lane Dickerson, I mean, that was a great, what's the word for that? When you make the mistake?
Freudian.
Portmanteau?
Maybe it is
Trying to
Freudian slip.
Combine two things?
Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson are both considering retiring. That's one story that we didn't hit during Super Bowl week. The multiple reports that said Landon Dickerson at 27 years old is considering retiring.
That's sad.
Because of all the injuries, which speaks to maybe he, even if he does play football, maybe he needs a year off. Like, he's not right. He's young, but he's not right. Lane Johnson, not right physically. Are they more likely to retire because Stoutland's not there? And by the way, that was the worst season Jeff Stoutland's ever coached for an offensive line. Not saying it was his fault, but it was the lowest performance he ever got out of an Eagles offensive line. So I do want to get to the other parts of the roster, but to me, that's the Eagles. And it's going to be fascinating with Sean Mannion, this new coordinator who brought along his own guy as an offensive line coach, replacing that. It's a real big changing of the guard for who the Eagles are.
Well, it's significant, at least in terms of perception, where I think that played into a lot of the problems, where it was the idea that, oh, Stout's going to heal all these wounds, and that's why Mekhi Becton can walk, and we can just move on, where it didn't work out for either party in that. And so I think at least the organization is probably more aware of where its lapses are. But the general question is, with Nick Sirianni, is the offensive coordinator a head coach caliber offensive coordinator? And if they're able to find that, then it's great.
And he could be the next Sean McVay with that, like, right under our nose, and losing Lane Dickerson. Let's just call them that.
Yeah, let's combine both of them.
Losing Lane Dickerson would be the biggest loss any team has this entire offseason.
Well, yeah, the number
Two elite offensive linemen.
Yeah.
The splits when he was on the field versus off the field were insane, run and pass.
Lane Dickerson uses the pronoun they.
Lane Johnson. but yes.
But if we're combining them,
yes,
then
it's
they,
yes.
But to this point, I find it so fascinating that the Eagles as an organization opted to move to basically allow a relative unknown come in and usurp someone they do know. Like, to me, that says in Stoutland, because there was reporting that came out that Jeff Stoutland left because, in part, okay, well, I'm not going to be as big of a part of the puzzle, and you're bringing in this new OC who wants to install his own stuff and all this stuff. I'm sitting there and I'm like, do the Eagles know themselves as well? Maybe do they know where they're at right now, or are they just trying desperately to patch at holes and saying, okay, come in and do something different. Maybe, hopefully, that works.
They could trade A.J. Brown. They could trade Tanner McKee. Will they sign one of the top free agents, Jalen Phillips? Dallas Goedert, Nakobe Dean are free agents. It's fascinating. And they need defensive line depth, which they've always been great at. They could be outstanding. They have the highest variance right now, I think, of any team. They could be like a Super Bowl favorite, or it could go quite wrong. The Commanders, they showed how wrong it went last season, how far you can fall in 1 year.
And I am glad to have a team with a whole lot of cap space, so I can play a little fantasy football. But I do think Debo's gone. Ertz, get well soon, gone. Von Miller, snap percentage hasn't been north of 40 in 4 years. So that's probably gone. Marcus Mariota, I think, has to be back, considering the lingering issues for Jourdan. I think this is the spot for Isaiah Likely, so it wouldn't be a far move. But he could come there, fill that Ertz hole after the injury. And also, sorry about the sale of the Seahawks, but this is the spot for Rashid Shaheed, who is a free agent as well, who can take some of that flyaway responsibility away from Terry McLaurin to allow him to operate a little more elsewhere. Would be a good spot for this team. And Jourdan stays healthy, and they win 12 games to go to the playoffs.
They're going to go after it. They're going to spend so much money.
I really like that Rashid Shaheed fit there because at a certain point they were throwing go balls to Debo, and not for lack of effort, but you have to infuse speed and youth, especially on defense. You need to infuse youth, and you need to infuse speed on the offensive side. Even when they were sort of like running this very interesting heavy personnel 2 seasons ago offense that was a departure from what Cliff Kingsbury at the time had typically run, they felt slow. They felt very, very slow. And then it was like this behemoth that was just going to sort of overwhelm you and then take shots at Terry McLaurin versus I think they want to get faster. I know they want to get younger. Those two things have to be key and critical for them.
I think they'll cut Marshawn Lattimore, and you mentioned some of the free agents. It is crazy to think about all these names. Almost all of them are towards the end of their career. Debo, Bobby Wagner, Andrew Wiley, Noah Igbenogany, Von Miller, who's not a free agent, but I think they're going to cut him. Jonathan Jones, Ertz, Eckler was on this team. Like, there's just a lot of people that are going. They have needs everywhere. I looked on the roster. I would say except safety, they're pretty good at safety, and defensive tackle, as long as they don't trade Jourdan Payne. But watch out. They're going to go nuts this offseason.
The thing about Bobby Wagner, though, the last time he played less than 94% of defensive snaps was in 2012. It was his rookie year.
Whoa.
He played 99% of defensive snaps the past 2 years. He's still Bobby Wagner.
Okay, is it disrespectful? Did we hit the buzzer, or do we have a minute left? I lost track here. Let me know, Eric.
You have
Okay, 30 seconds. Is it disrespectful to make Wagner the number 101 player on my list? I consider it an honor. That person just stays there as an anchor, even as players get cut and move up and down below him.
I'm issuing you a challenge to find 100 better free agents than Bobby Wagner, who's played 99% of snaps the last 2 years.
Free agents this year.
You know what? It is interesting, though. I don't. This is not based on reporting at all. Let me be clear about that. But usually when a guy wins Walter Payton Man of the Year in the twilight of his career, he's thinking about what comes after football, too. And Bobby's been involved in so many things for his entire career that have been for the greater good of society and everyone in it. But I was wondering about that a little bit.
Unless you're Calais Campbell, where you pull a fast one, just get better and better every year.
I'm back, bitches.
Jourdan, you are up with the Bears.
Yeah. Really, really interesting case study to me because it's very clear that they're ahead of schedule in a lot of elements with their offense and still, developing that quarterback head coach / play caller relationship. But in terms of their run game, their offensive line, the way they use their tight ends, this is ahead of schedule for the first year head coach. On the defensive side, this is where I'm expecting to see the most change for this Bears group because even though the Bears defense played admirably, especially when teams, absurdly decided they were just going to throw at them all game through the postseason. They were really solid. They're a team built to defend the pass. They have been for a couple of years now, but they need help up front. They need to get better at rushing the passer without the blitz, even though they blitzed very effectively at times. I could see them being super, super aggressive in free agency to address some of these needs, knowing that they are suddenly a win now team, especially with Caleb Williams on that rookie contract. But they have to clear up some space first, cap space first. They're currently $5.3 million over the cap. It is a little ironic that DJ Moore, it could potentially be traded. He would definitely get them under the cap with a move, but I'm curious to see if he actually is on the block, and if so, where would he fit best?
My inside source into Gregg Rosenthal's brain, which is by talking to him and chiding him every time DJ Moore makes a play, saying, "This is it. They have to bring him back." Greg firmly believes that was the last play.
I could just see him going, "No."
I just think with the construction of their roster and the time and the money they can save and the market that he'd have, that he's gone. Get a third-round pick for him or something like that. I think they could cut Kmet. They could cut DeAndre Swift, weirdly. They do need to clear up some money because they have to spend on defense. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Nahshon Wright, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson are all free agents. And what you said is right on. Their front on defense is their biggest need. So, but you're losing.
And Kevin Byard's
60% of your secondary, so that's two big needs. You got to kind of
50% G. You hit the nail on the head. Kevin Byard is probably their most important or like biggest hinge point where it could go either way free agent. He's a team captain, 7 interceptions last season. But Ryan Poles kind of came out in the media earlier this offseason and was talking about how, like, oh, it's going to be really difficult to get something done. Well, yeah, they're over the cap. And if you're going to extend this guy, it's not going to be a small amount of money. So this is one that's very, very going to be very, very interesting because they do need help in other areas badly.
I'm thinking about the old Dennis Allen guys he could bring in there. Cam Jourdan, he wanted to go to a team with maybe a better chance to win the Super Bowl. David Onyemata, still playing quite well. I don't know if he got along with Delonte Taylor, but he brought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back in the fold.
If they can find love, then it can work out for them.
I could actually see that happening. All right, we got the Lions, and this is just more of a big picture question. What's their second act? I think Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. I think they're kind of through their first iteration. They're at the point almost where the Rams were ready to trade Jared Goff. The Lions are obviously not trading Jared Goff. I just mean like at the point of the team build where like they got stuck a little. They need to change things up. And yet you look at their roster, their entire offense could be coming back. If they don't trade David Montgomery, like basically all these guys are under contract. They don't have a ton of huge free agents. None on offense, but DJ Reader, Alex Anzalone, some cornerbacks on defense. You can restructure to open up cap space, but they do not have much cap space, and they have a new offensive coordinator. So I don't know what they're going to do. I'm really curious because kind of like the Broncos before, but in a different way. I think they could go in a few different directions, but they don't have a ton of screaming needs other than just getting better line play, which is like everyone's need, but I think especially
which is
for the
kind of
Lions.
crazy though, thinking about how solid they've been there for a couple of years now in this Holmes Campbell era, and then just really looked uncharacteristic at times.
And Taylor Decker, their left tackle, is seriously considering retirement. Would not surprise me at all if he does, and so that would open up a big hole at left tackle.
And I think I can make the cap number even worse because I think it makes long-term sense to extend Gibbs and just go ahead and do it now.
The way they can play with the money, that will help the cap ultimately. It never makes sense to me, but you push it into the future. I don't know what his number is. I guess it won't help, but
he's such a
long
Saints
term
guy at heart.
Yeah.
He's such a Saints guy at heart. He's like,
oh yeah.
I'm just saying the long-term contracts won't kill you. That absolutely makes sense. They're so good at extending the right players early. Brian Branch normally would have been a candidate for one, coming off an injury, so that might complicate that.
I'm curious about what they'll do in the draft because they are a pretty complete team. Now, they could stand to add some support on defense. They could just stand to add a boost in a lot of the different, especially sort of like the defensive skill spots. They could definitely add there.
Need more edge.
But they need more pass rush for sure. And I am really curious about what they decide to do because Brad Holmes, the team changes and the era that they're in has kind of changed as well. They're more settled in, they have good bones and now they're kind of just like figuring out like what they want to build around it. But I feel like this is like Brad Holmes will always draft the guys they really, really want and won't necessarily look at positional value or charts or anything like that. They'll just go after the guys that they want. So this is a team so unpredictable to me in the draft, but because I don't necessarily think they're going to be going for need, even though they should go for need.
They could trade David Montgomery. Drew Petzing said he really liked him, the coordinator, but it's not up to Drew.
By the way.
Oop, can't start it, by the way. Patrick, you're up with the Green Bay
I love Drew
Packers.
Petzing in Detroit, just saying.
Obviously, that's perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
The fan base was mad at it. I was like, you guys, this is awesome. What are we talking about here?
It'd be fun.
Who did you want? Cliff Kingsbury? God.
So the Green Bay Packers.
That's a drop, by the way. Who did you want? Cliff Kingsbury? God. Although
a little more direct than the Matt Nagy heat that we've had.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Kingsbury's what is he?
I'm starting to get hangry.
The special assistant to the head coach. So I don't know when we can really use it, but he's with the Rams now. All right, let's go,
special.
Patrick.
Assistant to the regional manager. I believe the Green Bay Packers should bring back Christian Watson as well as Jaden Reed on the offense. I think generally you would like to be able to retain Malik Willis. That's not going to happen. So perhaps it's the Packers who are players in the Tanner McKee sweepstakes as they look to get a backup quarterback in a spot where they've needed a backup quarterback in the past couple of years. In terms of their, organizational structure, they're not necessarily going out. And I think being big splashes in free agency, the splashes are done for the Green Bay Packers. Do you ultimately, because I do have a question for this team as I remember the exercise a little bit better, Greg, just wait for Micah to be back? Or is there a need to acquire an explosive defensive player prior to Micah's return?
An interesting question. I think you just wait. Ultimately, he's going to be hopefully ready and back to fully Micah by the time that you're at the part of the season that really means something to the Packers these days, because the fans are sick of just
the 7 seed.
getting into the playoffs. So I think you're going to have full Micah, hopefully.
A lot of fan bases will be very comfortable with that particular dichotomy.
It's a tough offseason for Gutekunst, their GM, because they don't have cap space right now. They can open it up. And last year, they kind of deviated off their path, Patrick, where they did spend money on Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs specifically in free agency. Neither one of those worked out. And they have more solid young players available than almost any team. Malik Willis, Romeo Doubs, Quay Walker, their left tackle, Rasheed Walker. He's definitely leaving, and he's probably going to get paid elsewhere. I think Quay Walker's probably leaving too. Inigbari, who was a starter for them, like a lot of players, and they had their special teams coach, Rich Bisaccia, suddenly retired on Tuesday night out of nowhere. I don't know what something's weird there.
Yeah, I haven't yet listened to. My colleague at The Athletic does a great podcast, Matt Schneidman, and I haven't yet listened to it. But the way he teased it, I get notifications for him, and I saw the share post, and the way he teased it made it seem like there was like something else going on, and he's very connected.
A change at this time of the offseason, mid-February, for a veteran coach,
and it was like framed as like mutually parted ways, and obviously there's going to be more to this story. It is interesting, Matt LaFleur now partnered with Jonathan Gannon, so two guys who could also be actors playing cops in a movie, in my opinion. It's going to be fascinating to me, because this is really the first time that Matt LaFleur has had this sort of like Fangio-esque but very malleable defense in his building, and I'm very interested to see how that goes.
And there's some big name players who I'm not sure are going to be there. Rashawn Gary, I think Josh Jacobs will be there. Zach Tom underwent surgery. I think it's the worst shape the Packers roster's been in a minute. I don't think they're quite as strong as
I think Quay Walker needs to be back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be that I'm keeping an eye on. I have a feeling, I'm not a huge Quay Walker guy, that he's gonna be one of those guys that is not overly high on my list that will just get a lot of money, which I hate to eat that. I'm just like looking at some of these guys like, I know that guy's gonna get a big contract, but I still have him ranked 52nd, and that's fine.
You're gonna put him 45 spots ahead of Pro Football Hall of Famer future Bobby Wagner, because you want to put him at the disrespectful spot.
I love a Patrick Claybon callback. It is one of my most favorite things.
I love it when you hit out and make a good point against me. That I am very influenced easily, I would say, by the last thing that I've heard. So now Wagner's going to go up. You've done it. I'm very malleable with these lists. Wagner is going to move up. By the way, I have someone else in mind for 101, but I was thinking about Wagner as one of the options. All right, you got the Vikings. One of the teams, I could argue, might have a better roster than the Packers, except for that big important position.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you said that, Greg, because I'd like to start this exercise with a question. First, going to you, Patrick, and then to Greg. Who is going to be the Minnesota Vikings quarterback in 2026?
J.J. McCarthy.
What? Greg, who is going to be...
Well, that is the safest answer.
Who is going to be the Minnesota Vikings quarterback in 2026, Greg?
He is the betting favorite. Kyler?
Yeah, and listen, I'm gonna be that...
Oh, yeah, Mac Jones. That was the one I liked. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones!
Who?
Oh, shoot. Did I step on your answer?
No.
Okay,
you
good.
didn't. No.
Good.
Thank God.
Let's go,
no,
Mac Jones.
I'm going to be that meme of the guy who's like slowly trying to open a pot and then all of a sudden everything bursts into flames
Yes.
with my suggestion that I will bring to the table here. The Colts don't get something done with Daniel Jones, who goes back to the Minnesota Vikings, where now he is assured that he will be their long-term starter, and he gets paid as well. The only problems here, guys, besides
There's a few.
the basic premise, is also the Vikings are $43 million plus over the cap currently. They have very few actual free agents, just 3 of them, who are set to have expired deals. Oh, and also just the small little note that Kevin O'Connell needs a general manager. So aside from all of that, Mrs. Lincoln, how is the play?
Considering the offseason, the statement out of Minneapolis appears to have been that Kevin O'Connell doesn't need a general manager, right? So
True.
he's got it.
True.
He's got, what's his name? Brzezinski's been there for 20 years. They're a very loyal organization that's kept
Depending on who you are.
Well, I think recent
fair.
recent data might show us.
Yeah.
Like
maybe a
there
little-
aren't many, like one of the reasons that didn't work out necessarily for Kwesi was he inherited so many people from the previous staff in the front office that have been there a long time. So I think in their mind, like, hey, we've got an entire staff that's been around for a while. But yeah, it is really interesting to think about what they'll do because
Mhm.
they're well over the cap. They're very lucky they kept Brian Flores because he fits the personnel that they have, but they have to make decisions on Javon Hargrave,
Yeah.
on TJ Hawkinson, on Brian O'Neill, on Aaron Jones. They have some players retiring, Harrison Smith, CJ Ham, Ryan Kelly.
Mhm.
Is he going to play football again because he's had these concussions? And obviously you have needs. I didn't mention Jourdan Addison as a potential trade when we did that column, and that was one where I think the Vikings fans asked me, and I was like, oh yeah, I should have said Jourdan Addison. I could see that.
Yeah, I think that small ads that upgrade a couple of key positions could also mean parting ways with some of those guys that you specifically said on the offensive side. Like, I think that looking at upgrading their running backs room, I love Aaron Jones, but I think that they just want just a little bit more juice there.
Yeah.
And Kevin O'Connell finally has to start running the ball the way he always says he wants to every offseason.
Still waiting. Worked for him for a while until it didn't. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals, but let's do it after a break. Let's hit the most fascinating division in football that's all coached by like the same exact coaching tree, the NFC West. We are back on NFL Daily, and we try to be an organization here that doesn't just draft talent, but develops it. And Jourdan is developing quite a takes woman, throwing that Daniel Jones to the Vikings thing out, knowing that could be a big hit if it scores for the Jourdan brand.
Listen, yes, they needed more wins, the Jourdan brand. You know what? I have seen enough rom-coms to know that you don't let the one that got away get away twice,
Ooh.
you guys. So they already had the experience of watching Sam Darnold.
You're in a perfect spot for a take because if it doesn't happen, no one's going to blame you. And I think you're hitting on something that it's more likely to happen than most people would realize. And you're staking that claim. You said, Patrick, you had some hot takes to throw out.
Yeah.
I am really intrigued.
Oh, well, it'll be a deep tease.
Okay,
But
okay.
I do want to say that, if we're making the romance parallels, if we go to the Lachey-verse, because there's a lot of discussion about types, which I think are stupid, because you have people with like, oh, you like this type of person, and it's a hair color is the type of person. Sam Darnold and Dimes, I think if you're comparing one to the other,
Speaking of hair color,
there's significant differences there where I feel like that would be a mistake.
I also I don't think this is a crazy island to be on. Signing Daniel Jones to be your long-term answer after tearing his Achilles in an incredibly up and down and injury-plagued career. Not much of a safer bet than J.J. McCarthy is right now.
yeah,
Would
well,
be-
to
Daniel
that point, hello, Cully. To that point, I wouldn't have thought that ideally the J.J. McCarthy draft was a safe bet to
No.
Yeah.
and they did it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I'm not saying the take is great. I'm a little worried for.
I
the
don't know. I'm
Colts
feeling
or
really
the Vikings.
self-conscious right now,
No,
Greg.
we feel like your take is good. the move by the team.
The
we think
take is
bad.
good.
Validate me.
I worry. I worry a little bit about the Colts and the Vikings expecting like MVP candidate Daniel Jones in the next year or two or
No.
ever. Patrick, you are not up next. I'm up next.
There it is.
Is that right? It's the Arizona Cardinals and Mike LaFleur, who was behind the 8 ball when building out his coaching staff, but he's got Nathaniel Hackett, and he kept Nick Rallis, their old defensive coordinator, which I think was a really good move because they had very specific defensive pieces, which now fit better. They do have something I looked for in this exercise, a good combination of cap space and a lack of meaningful free agents. They do obviously have a lot of holes to fill. I don't think their roster is in as quite bad a shape as like their record would have indicated last year. So that's a good thing. I am concerned, however, by the report from Tony Pauline that they're intrigued by Tyson Bagent, the Bears' backup quarterback. Like, does Jacoby fit on this roster? I don't know what to say about this team right now. I think they could cut James Conner, Dalvin Tomlinson, maybe Budda Baker, which would pain me, but he didn't play great last season. But overall, kind of, they have an open canvas. It's not a new GM. It's Monty Ossenfort.
If that is I'm not questioning anyone's reporting, but this time of year, it's a lot of smoke about that agents are putting out about drafts and my client this and my client that and smoke screens and all this stuff. But if they are actually interested in Tyson Bagent, I think they're saying less so that they're interested in Tyson Bagent and more so that they're committed to finding like a bridge quarterback.
Yeah, and I think take a couple swings at quarterback maybe this year.
Yeah.
But really one if you're keeping Jacoby. Take one swing as a mid-level option. I think they could be a Tanner McKee type of team or that type of player. There's not really those free agents out there, though. Like the backups are the Mariota is the best version of it, but there's the Trubisky types like Tyrod. Like there aren't many younger players that are going to be available unless they just decided to blow Malik Willis out of the water money-wise. They could afford to do it.
Yeah, they did.
Not that crazy.
They took a quarterback number 1 overall a few years ago. I understand the whole enterprise has been to blame, Kyler Murray.
Oh, my God.
But
they're the Malik Willis team. I don't know why it's just hitting me now.
Wait, it's just hitting you now?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think they're the
I
team.
thought you'd already talked about this because here's the
No.
thing. All Mike LaFleur has to do is call Big Brother
Exactly.
and say, hey, man, you want to send over that Malik Willis playbook here?
But why send Malik to these horrible circumstances? I just
Because
think like
Malik's
he's been
Oh,
going to
there.
but you
take
know what, though?
game-changing money.
I will just say, I don't think that the offense itself is horrible circumstances. I think there's a lot of work to do on this roster, but you've got a volume best in the league tight end. You've got 2 really solid receivers. I think they're going to look for a third because if I know anything about this offense, they're going to try to start with a lot of 11 personnel and then reapply their 13 personnel concepts layered over that 11 personnel.
Got a good young left tackle in
They've got
Paris Johnson.
Good young left tackle in Paris Johnson, and
Oh, that's it.
and
Solved it.
and they also, and I am kicking myself for not remembering the backup running back's name, but coming back from injury, and when those guys are healthy, they're sort of back in.
I think they might
on
cut
offense.
James Conner. I'm not a huge Trey Benson fan, so I
Trey
think
Benson.
I think
Yeah, my bad.
they might need more there. But that's it. And I hear you. I maybe want better for Malik Willis, but the scheme, the talent, maybe they're not winning a lot of games, but more importantly, they are the team that I think could say, "Do you want $100 million guaranteed?" Because I think we could give that to you.
Also, Patrick, I agree with you in what you're saying. I think on a broader scope, which is systemically, I don't think that is a great situation for anybody.
Yeah.
However, in terms of the offense itself, there are some promising players there.
Because rhyming is important. Tyson Bagent's agent, he's represented by Milk and Honey Sports. I just felt like
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
His dad often seemed to be talking to the media as well, on and off the record. So you never know who could be a Bagent source. This is how deep we go when we go through all 16 NFC teams with the runner-up in the National Football Conference, the Los Angeles Rams.
So, I don't know if you guys remember years ago, Matthew Stafford was traded to the Los Angeles Rams
That was good.
from the Detroit
Good
Lions.
move.
He had
I
2 years
remember.
remaining on his deal. At the end of this season, there is a quarterback who has had a lot of success in the NFL, not a lot of success in the postseason with a interesting relationship with his fan base and ownership. I think Rain Dakota Prescott will at some point be the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. My
Whoa.
question to you, folks, in the post-Stafford era, do you utilize the picks, because we know those picks, do you utilize the picks to prepare for that circumstance, or in a year where there's not a Jalen Ramsey available in free agency? I don't know if anybody's available for a trade, like Reek Woolen may be available as a free agent, if that's the place you want to be, if you want to get bigger in the secondary. Do you use that capital to acquire talent, maybe move up a little bit and get Caleb Downs, get better and bigger and faster in the secondary, or do you use it to get ready for a post-Stafford?
Whoa.
If you think you're going to keep Chris Shula for at least another 2 years, I do think that you look really seriously at adding a special multi-position player as Caleb Downs is. I don't think that works with every defensive coordinator. I don't think that will work with every defense. I think there'll be a lot of hubristic defensive coordinators and head coaches who think that they have the right system, but then you end up seeing like the Isaiah Simmons situation play out, unfortunately. So this guy is special, and he's a difference maker and a math changer, which we know the Rams love. I think
would Dak be this year?
No, it would be after. Like you make another playoff run. The retirement question is there. If Matthew Stafford decides to step away, you have an opportunity.
And I love that thought exercise, because what you're really asking is, do the Rams actually for once bring in a rookie quarterback, knowing that Sean McVay has never developed a rookie quarterback from the ground up, or does he continue to go through the veteran pool? Dak Prescott would be, in my opinion, a solid pairing if that were the case. I think there would be a likelier, we talked about, threw this out there for funsies, there's a bigger chance that it's Joe Burrow over Dak Prescott.
I love that we're just giving, now they're turning into the Lakers. Let's just give all the best quarterbacks to the Rams.
That's what they are, Greg.
But they're also among the biggest win now teams in the league, just because they have a quarterback playing, the reigning MVP who's at the end of his career. They got 2 picks. They got $45 million in space. This whole, sprint rebuild has all been setting up these 2 years. And, man, they have a lot of money to play with, but they need cornerbacks. They need a linebacker. They need a third receiver. They need to develop some offensive lines. They do have some free agents in the secondary. So they got to handle the Stafford contract. They have a lot going on, and knowing Snead, they'll be aggressive.
Yeah, Cam Curl, I think, is a back, or Roger McCreary. The trade didn't necessarily work out. It didn't even play that much when they needed him to.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, go out and spend in the secondary, and maybe, if not, and if you don't do that, if you don't invest in the draft, prepare for the big swing at Joe, at Dak, at whoever it is.
They need bodies. Like Kobe Durant is a free agent. They could cut Darius Williams. Maybe they bring back Cam Curl.
That they paid Quentin Lake tells me they're not paying Cam Curl, but that's just my opinion.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, you're up with the
Yes.
defending National Football Conference and world champions.
And my new favorite head coach of all time. It's just like
Mike McDonald.
Yes.
Let's go. Seahawks.
Okay, so a wise thing that I heard once from a coach was about the concept of reaching the mountaintop. So after you win big time, right? He said to be ready once you get to the top of the mountain to only be able to see more mountains, right? And so that being said, I think that what Mike McDonald has done so far, and in the weeks since reaching the mountaintop, besides some extremely endearing videos of him and his wife taking the scene of the parade in all around them last week, is adjusting where he knows he has deficiencies. And one of those was hiring Daniel Stern over from the Ravens. He's a situational management, game management, and analyst, someone who they're probably going to put a position coach title on just because that comes with a pay bump, but will be doing game strategy for this team. That is where you could argue they did have some faults and flaws last season. He also hired Brian Fleury from San Francisco, the tight ends coach, now as his OC. To me, that speaks volumes about wanting to continue to evolve the run game forward, which is going to be interesting because Kenneth Walker, it looks like he will be posed to be a free agent. There's been some reporting that they are not planning to tag him. And they have a lot of really solid...
We missed on that one, on the old...
I know, like immediately we did. They have a lot of solid free agents available. So Reek Woolen is going to be a free agent. Boye Mafe is going to be a free agent. Rashid Shaheed, you mentioned previously, is going to be a free agent. Kobe Bryant, the safety, is going to be a free agent. Josh Jobe is going to be a free agent. Like
That's everybody.
this is
It's 4/6 of the second.
this is a significant amount of players in their secondary, and like Nick Imanwori plays 7 positions, but he can't play them all at once. So you really need to pick and choose who you're going to invest in this offseason if you're the Seahawks, and I would expect a couple of these guys are extended internally at the very least.
If I had to guess, I think Kobe Bryant and Josh Jobe would be my guesses. Because Kobe Bryant, good safety, young. The safety market it just always is less than you think, so you can have some continuity. Jobe played great for them, and so he's not going to cost as much as Tariq Woolen, and so I think that makes sense. But man, that's a lot of good players that are getting to free agency. But I mentioned the Chargers and the AFC as the best team with a lot of cap space. That was in the AFC. The Seahawks have $73 million in cap space.
It's wild.
And so they're in a great position.
Yeah, in a position to run it back. Like, I can make a case, just bring them all back. Like, you got $73 million, make it work.
I think for Reek, I think his market, I could be wrong, will be big enough. And I do think about, like, asking Clint Kubiak about how Ken Walker never ran the plays as called.
And he laughed.
He has, like, a knowing laugh.
Yeah.
I hate it for Ken Walker in a way, but I love that he'll max out his money.
Yeah.
I think they think they'll just get someone that they drafted. I know John Schneider drafted him, but like this coaching staff, and I think they're going to replace him.
It is interesting to me.
You got to pay Sam Darnold more money, by the way, too. That's
through either bad reasons or good reasons. In this case, good reasons. This is their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 seasons. Interesting.
The 49ers is my team, and they're in a really interesting spot, similar to the Rams, where they went through a little short-term pain. They're kind of out of the woods. And do they want to take a little pain right back? Because they got $41 million in cap space, and they do have these guys with huge contracts, Warner and Nick Bosa, who would be on my really long list of, like, would they ever think about trading Nick Bosa?
Every time I suggest it, or even like sideways suggest it, I get so many anger, pure anger from 49ers.
I don't think they would ever trade.
Maybe that's not what they're angry
George
about.
Kittle or Warner. They can go be aggressive. They're very much in win now mode. It's why I don't think they'll trade Mac Jones in the end unless they get
Mac Jones, baby,
like a second plus, because it's just like why bother? We'll get a comp pick for him, and why bother? Juwan Jennings is a free agent, but not a ton. It's the same old stuff I look at every offseason with them. Is like their offensive line does not look great on paper, and yet they just kick the can and they make it work. But if you're the 49ers, I'll throw this to you, Patrick. Like, where are you looking? Because actually, like, don't see a ton of crazy, like, screaming problems or needs. They're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think they can add depth at a few places, especially on defense, where, we talked about Bobby Wagner, being able to have Bobby and Fred on the same team. I think.
Wow, try running through that.
Now that I think about it, you're right. Like, the defensive line other than Nick Bosa is a big need.
Yeah, and so, like, having that capacity where they can spend with now, a new group, organizing the defense, I think they should and take advantage of that. Where it's Kyle on the other side.
Yeah,
would they bring? I could absolutely see Debo coming back on like a 2-year, $12 million contract because he doesn't have a market elsewhere.
It's interesting. Raheem Morris is the defensive coordinator over there now. So again, everything just cycles through in different versions of itself throughout the entire NFC West at this point.
Caden Ellis maybe from the Falcons.
It is interesting because I also think that just knowing Raheem's background a little bit, like, they are going to want to add some more size at DB, specifically the way that they're going to want to play their safeties, their slot position. It's going to be aggressive. It's going to be versatile. They are definitely going to want to add some size.
Now I'm imagining a situation where multiple aspects of the tree are interested in Reek now in the division. That's going to drive the price up to where the Seahawks won't be.
Right. It really just takes 2 teams. Like, that's why Godwin.
I love when you say the tree.
It's the tree.
The tree.
It really is the tree at this point. And Raheem's been in so many spots, I immediately thought about, like, maybe he reconnects on a final, like, let's go chase another ring Jalen Ramsey contract when he potentially gets cut.
He is the Jalen Ramsey whisperer, I'll say that.
I like this 49ers team. I mean, I think they're going to be a trendy team of, like, okay, this is the year that they break through next year, just for people like me. Patrick, you are up with the Atlanta Falcons. We are entering the Dirty South, the final division that we're going to be covering.
And it starts with an apology. I yield with regards to my thoughts about Terry Fontenot. There are a lot of talented players on this team where they have some free agents to sign. I think one aspect that will alleviate and provide them with more capacity to acquire talent would be a trade. If the Minnesota Vikings are interested in a quarterback coming off of a torn Achilles, I can offer you one that's coming off a couple of years now removed from a torn Achilles, where Kirk Cousins could create some opportunity to where there's not that much of a question with regards to Kyle Pitts, David Onyemata as well, where there's places where you can retain talent here and have a team that can be successful. But at 8-9, there's 3 other teams in this division that we'll have a chance to talk about, where you're kind of in this middle spot where everybody can legitimately be win now, but can they be win now with Penix coming off the injury or this version of Kirk Cousins? I don't yield to you guys.
The reporting is Cousins is just going to get cut, that they restructured his contract in a way to cut him and save the most amount of money this season for him. They do have a decent amount of cap space. They're in the middle. It's President Matt Ryan. And you mentioned, I'm curious if they're going to tag Pitts. My guess would be they probably will. But a team where I think there's a lot of places to upgrade, but they don't have huge gaping holes like defensive tackle, wide receiver, offensive line, cornerback. I think they can improve in a lot of spots. But I think the roster, to defend your guy Terry, it's in a very 8-9 type of place. That's where they've been, and I think it's not a rebuild.
They had I'm trying to remember how early in the season this was, but they had the multiple injuries at tackle too that I think really affected the way that offensive line ended up playing. Certainly, and it's interesting to me, one of the biggest things that they did this offseason was not moving on from somebody, and that's Jeff Ulbrich, because I think that defense is going to be able to pick up right where it left off. Now, what I am interested in seeing, Kevin Stefanski talked up Michael Penix a lot in his opening press conference. I really want to see what it is about Kevin Stefanski. I get the theories, right? I understand the background and
the beard
and the lineage is there, obviously, of the coaching trees that he's been a part of. But I would really just like to see what it is about him.
Would he want Jacoby? There's so many teams in this weird in between for quarterbacks where they kind of don't have one for a while. The Colts too.
And they don't have a first round pick.
Like the Vikings are kind of like that. They have one, but not really. Who will they go for?
If I see Michael Penix in some version in Kevin Stefanski's offense utilizing the middle of the field, then that's it. Then I will retract my apology, and we'll be a full-on revisionist history regarding the Atlanta Falcons.
The Tampa Bay.
You just wait till I start using the middle of the field. Then it's over for you, hoes.
It's a tough situation for Penix because he could use the offseason with Stefanski, and he's not going to have that. Let's do Carolina, Jourdan.
Oh, I'm so happy you gave me the Carolina Panthers, Greg, a team very near and dear to my heart. The biggest news of the week, perhaps the offseason overall, came out of Carolina just a few days ago, and that is long snapper J.J. Jansen signed another 1-year contract.
He's back, baby.
To play his 18th NFL season. Friend of the show, he holds us off just a little bit longer, Greg. My plot to get him on the desk with us just has to wait for 1 more year. But the biggest additions for this team have to come by drafting really well, in my opinion, at pass rusher specifically, infusing talent, not just on the outside edges, but also to get that interior moving the line of scrimmage a little bit more. They have some Derek Brown's obviously playing at such a high level, but they need to start replacing some of the guys that they went out and spent money on. A'Shawn Robinson, Bobby Brown III. While it is his prerogative, they eventually have to think about what draft picks at those positions to supplement and kind of replace long-term those guys are going to look like. And I think that's the biggest thing. They need to upgrade their inside linebackers as well. They need to upgrade at safety. Nick Scott is a free agent. He played well at the end of the season. But their outside corners kind of rock. So I say don't touch anything there. And on the other side of the ball, they need to keep building layers around specifically Ted McMillan and Jalen Coker. I don't think a lot else in this pass game is working. So building layers and different problem solving around those two key players in your passing game is really important. I'd like to see them get more production out of the tight end position. And I think their offensive line is fine. Cade Mays is a free agent. I think you need to extend him, keep him at center, let Austin Corbett keep playing at guard now that he's healthy. And that's my offseason plan for the Carolina Panthers.
I'm a little worried about their team build because the offensive line is where all the so much money is, and they didn't really play very well. And Ike Ekwonu is coming off a ruptured patella tendon. Cade Mays, I think, is going to get a big contract, whether it's from the Panthers or another team. It sounds like he's going to have a market. And if the Falcons have an 8-9 roster, I think the Bucs are better than that, even though they were 8-9. And I think the Panthers are worse than their 8-9 record. Like, because I think they need everything except for those outside corners and that long snapper. Shout out to the Blue Sky user. I think it's Brad Beatson who said, was that NFL Daily's own JJJ?
Yes, I love it. I love it. Amazing. Amazing. Friend of the show.
Not many free agents, though. Rico Dowdle's out there. Austin Corbett's out there. Cade Mays, as I mentioned. They got to pick up Bryce's option. But not at least
they said they will.
They're additive.
Yeah.
They're additive right now. But I do think they need a lot. I think they're early in their build still, relatively.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we've talked about this for a couple of months now. Like, this is sifting through kind of the, like, freak happy luck that happens at the end of the season. And I'm not saying they didn't earn it. They played really well. They met their moment incredibly well in the playoffs. But you also need to sift through, like, okay, what actually is sustainable out of this? And that very much is the process that they're going through right now.
All right, it is time now, finally, for delivering results. It's presented by Uber Eats. When football makes you hungry, you order some Uber Eats. And who else would be delivering but Mickey Loomis and the New Orleans Saints? Get ready for a big offseason. It's Mickey gone wild. Mardi Gras just ended. You got Drew Brees throwing beads with his left arm for some reason. Mickey's feeling himself. He's got a quarterback. He's got Jeff Duncan of the Times-Picayune running, hey, aren't you sorry now? Look at what Mickey did last year column, which maybe is a little premature. They feel like they have a lot of cap space just because they're not in cap hell, but they are still 27th in cap space, but they can create a lot. And I think they have a lot of problems on their roster. Who is their best defensive lineman under contract? Probably Brian Bresee, who's like a splash, but not a complete player. They have only a couple more of them. They have $51 million in dead money in Demario Davis, Taysom Hill, and Cam Jourdan, who probably all won't be on the team, but we'll see. Actually, Demario Davis and Cam Jourdan could be. I don't know that yet. But either way, they're going to have dead money. They maybe are looking at a Olave contract, but I do get the feeling, don't you, Patrick, that they're going to push. They got their rookie on a contract, and I think Mickey's ready to be like, Mickey's back. We can go win this division.
Yeah, they obviously they come close to winning the division last year with the late surge, where not just an apology to Mickey specifically,
I am not apologizing for what it's worth. No apologies.
All right. Well, I will apologize.
The Jeff Duncan
It's fine. He's fine.
featured in a movie?
Well, it was, yeah. No, it didn't.
No.
But I also don't have a subscription.
Yeah, but in general, evaluating Tyler Shuck and it being a significant oversight that he was recovering from the injury, lost sight of how explosive he was, and he still have that. Was able to navigate that rookie season healthily. I think a lot of teams probably disappointed in that because guys like Alontae Taylor will not be available. I think the cap chicanery will
1 minute.
Have Alontae back. There's places where they can be successful. Congratulations.
I think Alontae might max out elsewhere. We'll see. I don't know. I wouldn't surprise me if he got a pretty good contract. Luke Fortner is the guy that they like that played center. Eric McCoy's never healthy. A normal team would maybe consider cutting Eric McCoy, who's been a great player for them when he's played, but he just literally hasn't been available for like 3 years. And they needed some defensive tackles. They need cornerbacks. I think the roster, I keep saying where their record is. What did they actually, how many games did they win last year? 6 in the end or 7? I think that's about right. They were about a 6-win roster. They are not there, I think, with the Falcons and Bucks roster-wise.
Yeah, they are obviously rebuilding. I think they're thanking, their lucky stars that the quarterback situation looks like it's promising for the future, because can you imagine if that didn't work out, then a rebuild would go from, hey, this is a year, maybe 2-year rebuild to even get to medium.
It changes. Tyler Shuck's season changes the entire organization.
Yeah.
And did you see him just like rocketing Mardi Gras favors off of a float? Like, rest the arm.
I do
arm,
love
buddy.
how much he's embraced being a New Orleans guy.
Could use that big arm to target one of the best deep threats in the league, who also is explosive as a punt returner. Fortunately, they have a 4th round and a 5th round pick, thanks to the Shaheed trade. So there's that.
Well, he will be a free agent, Rashid Shaheed. You could always do the move where you sign him back. That would be
that'd be a great move. I would apologize to Mickey for that.
I would too. If he gets Rashid Shaheed back, that would be outstanding. That was Delivering Results, presented by Uber Eats. When football makes you hungry, get game day deals on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. We have reached the end of the road with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that I said is a better roster than their 8-9 record indicated. A lot of consternation among Pewter Nation. Do they call themselves that? I don't think so, but they should. The Bucks with Patrick.
Yes, I think it is very important to bring Mike Evans back. I know that there's only $14 million of cap space. One way to do that would be to extend one of the highest paid players on the team, which would be Baker Mayfield.
Ooh,
so
interesting.
that is my question. Can you solve some of the offseason problems where Jamel Dean needs to be re-signed again in a situation where a lot of people have a need at corner? Jamel Dean, one of the better corners in the league. Do you solve all of that? Would you guys be comfortable extending Baker Mayfield right now? Oh,
I would.
Oh.
Yeah, I would. I think
put me in a bad spot.
Well, you hate him, but I
don't hate him, but I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to extend him right now.
I think that if it's also, you're talking about cap savings and you think you got a roster and you're Todd Bowles, who's maybe running out of chances at this point, like another offensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, you think that you've got an offense, especially with Chris Godwin coming back from a brutal, gruesome injury, probably going to look a lot more like himself year 2 coming off of that injury than in year 1. You got a you got good pieces everywhere. You got a great offensive line when healthy. I mean, health really was a huge factor in a lot of their issues this year. And I think too, they just didn't quite get what they needed, just cohesively from that offensive system overall. And I think that this is going to be really interesting to me, because you are kind of saying, hey, we want to bring our guys back. Jason Light loves to do that. And this could be a way to do it, extending Baker Mayfield, who would have, I think, can you guys imagine this if they don't, and everything goes terrible, and all the suitors Baker Mayfield would have this offseason? Next offseason?
Won't be if he doesn't play, if things go south.
Truly, Greg, I'm serious. I don't think anyone will care. I think he is the ultimate I can fix him guy. That all these
Baker ball.
You want to talk about the tree? The tree would be knocking down their door to try to.
It does feel like a little bit of a last chance saloon for Todd Bowles, and maybe not for Baker, but I think play it out, because I think the level that he played at last year, you don't need to rush it. But they have, you mentioned Evans, Dean, Hassan Reddick is a free agent.
Yeah.
Cade Otton is a very good tight end for them. Rashad White is a good player. Levante David might retire, so they also feel great about exactly 3 offensive line spots, but literally don't have a guard on the roster next year. So that could be a position I could see them spending in free agency. So maybe the roster doesn't look as pristine as it did a year ago at this time.
It'll look a lot better, Greg, if they extend Baker and they get some money.
I mean, how much does that really open up? A little bit.
You could go from 15
We
to 45.
literally just talked on the
restructure.
AFC
You can
podcast
restructure.
about how much money it can open
Yeah,
up with,
it can open
as
up
Patrick Mahomes has showed.
That's what the restructure. You actually could restructure Baker too, but he might, and I'm sure he will.
And you know what helps you with restructures? Extensions.
Adding on.
More years.
Yeah. More years.
He has 3 void years coming 27 through 29.
Listen.
Yeah. He is essentially entering a contract year.
Very interesting. The stakes.
I think they're kicking that can.
Very
They
interesting.
might have wandering eyes. We never would. 'cause
Oh.
This trio did it. We hit all 32 teams
Sheesh.
over 2 shows, AFC, NFC. Most podcasts would take the rest of the week off. Not us.
Not done.
I mean, we are cranking some quality content this week, the second week after the end of the Super Bowl, with all these teams, and then the exclusive reveal for the top 101. Ollie Connolly will be joining me in his weekly appearance for that show, and then off to Indianapolis.
Yes, I'll see you there, Greg.
We will see you there. A couple big GMs already signed up. We're going to try to get some more. We're going to figure everything out. The offseason will be decided. It's regular season. See you next week.